again, thank you two gentlemen for being a part of this conversation, man. Because you know, this conversation today is really about the future, right? And the future is tech, and oftentimes like our community, we're excluded from like the tech conversations, but then also more so like excluded really from the future, right? You know what I mean? So, like I really want to, just have this conversation about like what are your insights and perspectives on how does the future look, and then we'll cover a whole bunch of topics from Bitcoin to the future of work to cryptocurrency to AI, automation, artificial intelligence, etc. So this is going to be a really heavy conversation. And I'm honored to have the two brightest minds on the planet being a part of this, man. So before we jump in, man, like if you two could just introduce yourselves, your like backgrounds, like in things of that sort, man, and then we'll take it from there, man. Starting with Mr. Alistair McKenzie.
Yeah, so Alistair McKenzie. I've been in the tech field for, I would say, about 9 years. I've been working specifically as a consultant for, say, about 4 years. Before that, a developer. And most of my work experience has been with Salesforce, so doing development and consulting and administration within the Salesforce platform. So I have a range of experience from, CRM. I've done some AI stuff, some machine learning in the past. Um, also started learning some crypto, looking into that as well. So just a broad range of experiences.
Nice. Alan.
Yo. The last 25 years, I've been in the streets of corporate America, technology for the most part, and started out as a software engineer. I did computer science undergrad. Also in high school, I went to Brooklyn Tech, majored in computer science in high school. So I knew pretty early on that that's what I wanted to do, and that I wanted to get into consulting. So I went into IT consulting right away at IBM. I actually spent 2 years in college. I took a break. I worked at a startup developing some applications pre-internet. So I stuck with it, developed all kinds of stuff, implemented all kinds of advanced technologies at big companies. And then after my MBA, I went to the business side of tech and, started talking to CEOs about technology and making seemingly impossible projects happen for them, re-engineering processes, implementing applications, technology, and then got involved also on the change management side of things, Six Sigma side of things. And business transformation is kind of what I put my hat on for the last 25 years. So helping companies really completely change the way they do things to achieve breakthrough results. And I've been deep in the AI stuff for the last 2 years. Threw a lot of money at self-educating myself in California, New York, virtual conferences. And that's my focus now, really going forward is, how do we leverage this amazing technology, not just that one, but all of them that's revolutionizing how we live and work. So that's my brief background.
Nice. Yeah, you see, like I told you, man, like two of these gentlemen are just, man. I mean, I would swipe their resumes with mine any day now. You know what I'm saying? Like any day of the week, man. But yeah, I mean, so like I guess the first question that I have is, do you guys think that COVID really accelerated what the future looks like? I mean, what the future will look like, and to that end, what should what do you think the future will look like from like, well, matter of fact, like a better question is, how integrated is technology going to be in our daily work life and also in our daily personal lives? And has COVID accelerated that process?
I would say that it's been integrated into our work lives for a while now. It's more about what type of technology. So something like AI it's already integrated, but we're just going to see that ramp up even more. And COVID definitely accelerated that. Without a doubt. And you can look at, a company like Zoom, where before a few people had heard of it, but then once COVID came around, everybody knows and has been on at least one Zoom meeting. So it's without a question that that COVID accelerated our adoption of technology. Even if you didn't want to, you were forced to.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a fact. There's some reports out that actually show how the prediction for the number of I think transactions on the internet, it was projected at the rate where it's at today since COVID, where it's gone since COVID, we were projected to reach there by 2025.
Wow.
So we're like 4 years ahead of all predictions on digital economy, transactions being done on the internet, and that's a good indicator. So we have completely accelerated way beyond anybody's imagination, and I don't think it's gonna go backwards. I think that there's gonna be a lot of investments. The other thing you have to think about is consumer behavior has changed, right? So like, what do they say? It takes like 2-3 months to break a habit, to learn a new routine. We've been doing this for like 4 or 5 months now, right? So our behavior, I think, is forever changed now. So now you're going to see a new type of consumer demand, need that could be met, in the digital world. I don't think we're going back.
Wow. So now Steve said work remote is the future, right? So now, interestingly, I was, I recently saw this ad, and so there were a number of Caribbean countries. I think Barbados is one of them, which says that you can work. So what they're pitching is live in Barbados and work wherever it is that you want, right? So I guess what's your take on the future of work and how does that look like?
I'm definitely going to look into Barbados. That's number one. But yeah, the future of work. What a lot of companies have realized is that a lot of the workforce that they had was either unnecessary or they didn't have to be on site. So, the work from home it's the present and the future, because most of us are working from home now. And even now, like going back to Salesforce launched work.com, which is their platform that help companies to transition them to a more remote experience, which at my job right now, they're really pushing. They want people to pick up. So that right there tells you like where we're headed, or not even where we're headed, where we are now and what's going to continue to happen in the future.
Alan, what's your take?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, but looking at, I think it's hitting more people that it normally didn't hit. Me as a consultant, I used to always have this work style that was, if I'm not on the road when I come back, if I'm on the road when I come back home, either I'm working from home, I'm going in the office and checking in, right? Like that has always been the way that I worked, like for 20 years. So, now I think that's hitting more people now. And even when I worked at Deloitte on Broadway near on Wall Street, they had a very advanced system where this was like 10 years ago. I would check in, be assigned a mobile cube, and off my laptop, and my phone calls would be routed to that wherever my stuff is docked at, right? And then people could see where I'm sitting, on a map if they wanted to meet with me. That was happening 10 years ago in the consulting industry. So I think you're definitely going to see more of that for more people. But I think the biggest difference is that right now, like if people that can work from home, you have to get permission, right? Like you have to beg and you have to in advance, oh, next Thursday, can I work from home? I think what you're going to see now is it's going to be more flexible. Like if you wake up and feel like staying home, you stay at home. If you feel like going into the office, you go into the office. I think more companies that could probably have those type of work from home policies that are much more flexible, but they're going to need to have the technology to still allow their employees to connect with each other, whether they're in the office or not.
So now going back to technology, right? So would you say that there'll be like a virtual reality so that if I'm working from home and I put in, these glasses or whatever, like they're not like, would I like be technically in the office? I mean, like, do you think it'll be as creepy as, maybe not as creepy as that, but do you think that like that's something that Silicon Valley is probably even testing at this moment?
Well, I think stuff is already. So I think it was like 4 years ago. I was at JFK Airport, and Facebook was having. I think it was Facebook. They were demoing their virtual Oculus.
Oculus. Yeah, Oculus.
Yeah. And I took that was my first time putting these things on. It was an amazing experience. So this was like 4 years ago. Definitely, I think there's companies probably innovating now around because what's missing when you work from home, right? We've all suffered from the lack of social interaction, right? That's the big thing. Also, we're human beings. Like we need to interact with other people. Is there a way for technology to augment that? And virtual reality, augmented reality is one way where that potentially could happen. You throw on some goggles and around you, it's like you're sitting in a room and people are sitting next to you, but they're really not. I mean, that could be something that we see. I mean, I don't know of any specific product that's coming out, but I have to imagine that companies are thinking this way and trying to develop those types of technologies.
Well, so
yeah. I know. Honestly, I know Microsoft has HoloLens, and I think some companies are already using that, but not for the social interaction piece, but more for like specific factory workers. It's helping them. They're using that augmented reality HoloLens for their work. But in terms of if that's like what Alan said, we don't know if that's going to catch on to more companies. But I mean, it's already in place. It's more about mass adoption, and that's where the question mark is.
Well, and where I probably see it happening first is in education. So what a great way for students to have an experience as if they're in a classroom when they're really not, for those that have to work remote. I mean, assuming that it's affordable enough that it's available and that, it doesn't make you nauseous and, you're not throwing up. But education is probably, distance learning is probably another low-hanging fruit opportunity for something like that.
Well, so just two more questions on working, the future of work, and then I'm going to transition into AI. But so David asks, will cities like New York, which serve as the land of opportunity, no longer be desirable if people can get the same opportunities but live in areas that are less congested and less expensive? And then Steve asks, doesn't work from home decrease productivity?
Work from home, I have, like before I started working from home, I was like, yeah, work from home. But after doing it for years and years and years, I can kind of see that there may be some productivity decreases, and even just in terms of how the employee feels sitting at home every single day, if you don't have a space to go to, that, I mean, the decrease in productivity just comes from burnout. So you definitely have that. And even going back to the NYC question, that's why I feel like, I mean, right now things are in flux, but 10 years, 15 years in the future, New York's going to come back. You know, once the COVID thing kind of blows over, people naturally want to interact and be around each other. People are social. And New York is one of the best places to be social. So it's going to take some time, but New York is definitely going to come back. Now, I mean, will it be as much of a force? That remains to be seen.
Got it. So just to transition into AI. So I don't know if you gentlemen was watching 60 Minutes last Sunday, but on 60 Minutes last Sunday, they had a segment on AI and the truck industry, right? And its its driveless, trucks. For which, what I learned is the fact that they actually have self-driving trucks on the road now, right? There's literally self-driving trucks on the road as we speak, right? And I don't know what part of the country, but yeah, like I think it's more so in like the West Coast. But now, so like I guess my question to you all is, there's also a number of, talks about like AI and what it does to the Black community, and there's not a lot of data, etc. So the question that I have is, how deep in do you see AI taking over, or is this going to be the new wave, or is this something that we shouldn't even be thinking about right now, right? So like, I guess, what's your like take on artificial intelligence, AI, and we're going to
I'll take that one. It's it's not going away ever, right? So I think that we will eventually see RoboCops. We're going to see all kinds of stuff. I think my 3-year-old daughter is going to grow up as a teenager, and probably, it'll be confusing for her. But self-driving trucks, I think, is a great case because the trucks that don't have drivers could be on the road 24 hours a day. And it could potentially save from accidents that happen with trucks. And the highways, when you have long stretches of highway without, if the truck doesn't have to navigate for a neighborhood and it could just go on the road, go on the highway for hours and hours and hours, then that could be a potential good application for self-driving trucks. Also, when you combine that with drones, a drone can meet a truck and get a package and deliver it and come back to the truck. I mean, so all these things are being, there's a movie I saw about this actually. I don't know if it's on Netflix or whatever, but now, yeah, that displaces a lot of jobs for truck drivers. But this is, I think, the reality of where, how do we upskill and reskill people so that their transition is faster to a new normal.
So just a quick question when it comes to self-driving cars, right? So trucks at that. So, I'm in the city now, and then as I was driving here, there was an issue with the traffic light on I think 9th Avenue, 10th Avenue. So the police officer was directing, and then they were saying, go here and go there, like with their hands, right? How can a truck see that, right? And also the officer had a little attitude, right? You know what I'm saying? So now it's like, how can technology pick that up? And isn't that where, replacing a human, with the algorithm, there certain things that algorithms can't pick up because of human nature and human spontaneity and human efficiency?
Well, so what artificial intelligence, it's a machine that learns on its own. So you train it. So there's no way that that self-driving truck will be on the road if it hadn't already gone through hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of training and simulations and stuff like that. And then what the technology allows the computer to do, the machine to do, is to then continue doing and learning on its own. So now, yeah, that's a good case. Like, so what if the light is broken, and is the truck, is there going to be a system? Well, and that's why people need to be brainstorming these things. Is the cop with the light, is that going to be a signal for the cameras in the computer and the truck to interpret and understand? These are things that have to be trained and tested for. Or the truck just stops and doesn't know what to do. It just stays frozen until, somebody boots up the solution. I don't know. Like, I'm just talking out loud here, but you're right, Jeff. There's always going to be situations and scenarios that the machine has not been trained for, and the question is going to be, how does that machine react to it? That's what's happened with the accidents that happened, I think, with Amazon's car or Google's car. I think running into a person walking a bicycle across the street, because the machine was never trained. Like, it didn't think it was a person. I don't know what it did, but it just didn't stop. It just kept going. So there's always these things. And also, there's going to be people that try to sabotage things. Like, there's ways to manipulate images and signs to trick the computer into thinking it's something else when it's really not. Like making a stop sign look like it's really making a red light look like it's green, because you're manipulating the pixels in the image or in the light. Like, that's also something that needs to be accounted for. So we're still years away from this really becoming normal, but these things are being tested and developed, and I don't think we're gonna see that stop.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it's not as ubiquitous as it's going to be, but even right now, some of these algorithms can detect, like, whether you're a human or whether you're a police officer. Like, there are algorithms with that level of sophistication right now. Now, whether they have been perfected for the road is another question. But I mean, you can go on YouTube right now and see, okay.
But then now, with that algorithm, what if that officer doesn't have that shield, or he put it on his right arm instead of his left arm? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, things like. I mean,
yeah, I understand. Like, there are certain things that come up that are unexpected, and
yeah.
Will this algorithm be able to know what to do in that situation? That's a very valid question, and that comes with experience. Like, we have to come into those situations in order to learn from them. So
right.
I think that's why it's not really, mainstream right now. That's why it's only in its testing phase.
Right.
But it's coming. It's coming, like, without a doubt.
So now,
but also, I think that, I mean, we got 18-year-olds driving cars. I mean, there's a lot that they're learning. I think that what we're going to see at the end of the day is that the number of accidents with self-driving cars are going to be much lower than it ever has been in human history. And we're going to look back and say, man, we should have done this sooner. Now, I don't think it's that zero people will die, but I think that it's going to be a much lower number because of the computer seeing things that humans can't even see. Like, you can't see behind your head. A self-driving car can. I mean, it can literally see if a car is coming up, so it won't turn to hit the car, right? Like your blind spot. There's no blind spots, really. It's just a matter of how the computer is assessing the situation and deciding on what to do.
And it has a faster reaction time than we do. So there's that as well. So
Steve asked a really great question, and he says, from a security standpoint, how safe is the influx of tech? In the future, could my household car microwave get hacked?
You take that one.
And
I would say, I mean, anything
well,
connected
so
to the internet can get hacked.
just to add some hot sauce to Steve's question, is like, would that now be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 30 years from now, the new war, right? So it's like, and would that be the new nuclear kind of thing? You know what I'm saying? Where it's like,
That's the current war. That's the current war.
damn,
I mean, you don't see it, but that's the current war.
wow,
We've been doing cyber warfare for a while now. Just
Wow.
look up Stuxnet. We've already been. Look at what North Korea has been doing. Iran. Like cyber war is here. We just haven't had any large scale collateral physical damage of like infrastructure here in America. Here in America.
Yeah, like I think we lost Alistair.
They've had it in Europe and other places.
But then that also too, like, you know, there was like an 18-year-old that had hacked Instagram and all of the verified accounts, right? You know, and then like I think
Twitter?
Was it Twitter? Yeah, no, Twitter. Oh yeah, sorry, Twitter. And then it had turned Obama into a scammer, right? So I think Obama said, if you invest $50 into, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, right? But like, you know, oh my God, interesting.
So there's a lot of stuff that I want to say that's scare people, but I mean, what did Russia do to our election? They hacked, right? So I mean, it's already happening, right? And we got to be careful about electrical election because it could be hacked. You know, and some of these electrical boxes are not traceable, so you never will know if it was hacked. But yeah, definitely you have to be careful with security, and that cybersecurity is a huge space for people that want to get into this field. I mean, that's gonna be huge. I think that something that's controversial. Well, can humans be hacked?
Well, I mean,
let me break this down, right? I mean, and this could, scare a few people, but look, the reality is that companies know more about you than you do. And that's what's happening with social media. So when companies know more about you than you do, and they know what makes you tick and what makes you buy something or not, maybe they can manipulate you. So this is the scary space we're going in, right? And that's why there's a lot of people, a lot of us that are standing up against big data in the hands of corporations, because again, my 3-year-old daughter, my wife opened an Instagram account for her. I'm not for that, but she just thinks it's cute to post pictures of her doing things and stuff like that. So all of these images about her, nobody's ever going to delete them. So whoever is at Google that owns Instagram, so they're going to know by the time she's a teenager. Imagine all the stuff they're going to already know about her before she even knows herself. And how can that be used against her to manipulate her in a capitalistic society to help her to buy something? Or, this is the scary space we're going in. And that's why we need more people like us involved in this industry.
Definitely. I mean, even I have Google Photos. Like I save all my photos to Google, and it has every picture of my daughter from birth to today. And it will probably have every picture of her from now until college. And we have a Alexa in the house. She talks to that Alexa. Alexa, do this. Alexa, play that. So that's her voice information. That's her face, everything. So they know more about her than probably anybody else in the world besides us. And in the future, they're going to know more about her than even her parents do.
Wow.
So, and that's a scary thing, like the psychological profile.
Wow.
And Yeah, and then when they start going into and this is one thing I've always thought about, like when we start seeing that big move to biotech, that's going to be another game changer.
Mm. Mm.
Right.
So David asked the question, right? And he says, how do we help ensure the expansion of tech like AI does not further alienate minority communities that are already underserved?
We have to get involved. Like, this is my gospel, Jeff. You know that. This is an opportunity for us, period. Like, our people have never had this opportunity before, right? We are approaching a new technological revolution. The last time these things have happened, which has only been a few times in human history, either we were slaves, or we were slaves again under Jim Crow, or we were civil rights movement fighting for, now there's enough of us loose and free and unshackled, and we could find some money from other people like us to really do something about this. Like, we really need to be involved. That's the only way, because we can't really expect other people to help us. Like, we really can't. Like, when has that ever happened before? So we really need to really look at this as an opportunity. And the technology is spooky if it's in the wrong hands. But what if it's in the right hands? What if we create something to service our communities with it? Because all that knowledge and patterns and knowing everything about your daughter, Alistair, what if that was used for good? What if that was used to help you be a better parent? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, so, but other people that don't understand us and our culture, it's going to be hard for them to do something that really has the right contextual, perspective. It has to be us for us, right? I mean, I will speak this all day long. Like, this is really an opportunity for us to get involved. Otherwise, if you're working at a corporation and stuff like that, still get involved, because when you help to test that product before it's deployed to make sure it's not, discriminating or has bias, that's going to be, I think, another big area that will emerge, is who's going to be the rainbow coalition of people within a corporation that is making sure the technology is fair, inclusive, and will be tested before it reaches a mass market of people with biases in it. So yeah, I think huge opportunity for us to get involved. If we don't get involved, then we could just expect like Trump's version of AI.
Oh my God, right?
And I would even add to that. I mean, get involved, but also we need to get involved on the ownership side and on the building side of it. I mean, because right now, I mean, I know a lot of Black people in tech, but they all work for somebody else. I know Black people at Twitter, Facebook, Google, Amazon. I'm a Black person in tech, but I work for somebody else. There is no control over what this company does with the data, at least like at my level. So get involved on that ownership level and on the level of building this technology. And then when you talk about building the technology, that's when you really have to look forward. So that's why one of the technologies I'm big on blockchain, and I'm big on like biotech in terms of, because they're still somewhat early, that we could put our foot in there and be able to like just be able to plant our flag and say, this is ours, this is what we control, we own this, we are creating the technology around this.
So can you explain biotech a little bit further? And then also, so now if Alistair, if you could explain biotech, and then if Alan, if you could explain blockchain for us. Right?
So biotech is a broad, it's a very broad term, but I'm specifically talking about like, for example, something like 23andMe or Ancestry DNA, where you're sending your samples to these companies and they own and control your genetic material. So here's a fact that I actually found out. Ancestry DNA, right now at this point in time, for every white person in this country, they can find like other relatives, they can find other people related to you, like third cousins, second cousins, first cousins, no matter who you are, no matter what white person you are in this country. They really can't do that with us yet, so we still have some power in that regard.
Wow.
But if we continue to give up that type of information, then now they have your genetic material, and they can do whatever they want with it. And I always bring up the example of Henrietta Lacks, whose genetic material was used to create so many different treatments. Now, that was just, one person, but if we all start giving that genetic material, then, we lose control of that, because as far as I know, nobody's like copywriting their own DNA. So they own it, they'll copyright it, they'll make the money off of it, and you'll still be here talking about, we want our seat at the table.
So now, would you say, I guess, overall, like biotech is, like if you just put the compound together, biology, technology, merging the two. So when I think of biotech, I'm thinking like chips in your body to, know where you are and, know what you're doing up in things.
There's chips in your body. There's a company called CRISPR that does like gene editing. So they'll take like a specific DNA code and they'll just edit it and change it some way, somehow. So like biotech is really going like, that's what I'm saying. It's like scary stuff.
Wow. Okay.
But I own shares because I need to have at least a little bit of ownership, because I know what's going on.
Definitely.
If that does go on, I can just like, okay, I have these shares, I can sell them and leave and go somewhere else. Out in the woods or something.
Oh my God. But Alistair, thank you so much for freaking me out. So Alan, can you explain blockchain? And I hope it's not as like creepy as biotech.
No, I could have got way creepier with the biotech stuff, but blockchain is.
Wait. Like, I'm so sorry. Before this, so Steve asked a really good question. Going back to biotech quickly, he says, do you see the technology like 10 years from now, 50 years from now, altering like your height, right? So could there be a 8-foot tall person that makes it to the NBA, right? Like, do you think it'll get that creepy, or, would you say that there would be some limitations to that?
I'll let Alan take this one.
I mean, Alan, either one of you.
Asia already is experimenting. Kids, parents, I want my kids to have red eyes, blue eyes, not red eyes, but blue hair, white hair. That's being done. So, and that's what it's manipulating DNA. Also, that CRISPR technology. There's a lot of people in the United States that, some crazy folks that are just experimenting, injecting themselves with stuff to see what happens. That, manipulating their DNA with CRISPR and then injecting themselves. That's actually happening. I think there's some shows on Netflix about that. It's pretty creepy and scary.
So now, would you say that, let's say if somebody was paralyzed, and then, would biotech be able to create a technology where now they are able to, use their artificial limbs through their mind? You know what I'm saying? Like, would that be something that is like falls upon that vein, or even can they even grow a limb, as Mike just said?
Well, yeah, I think there's a lot of research being done on how can the brain control a computer or device, the way using your brain waves, and when you combine that with prosthetics that are robotic, when you combine that with robotics and our AI and bio, so now you definitely can have cases where someone can perhaps control a prosthetic limb with robotics and AI technology. So it makes it seem like you have the leg when you really don't. I think that's the direction it's going in, and that's probably one of the first things first cases you'll see, because you're helping people with disabilities. Usually that's the cycle of technology. It's through either the military or like helping disabled populations, and then from there the technology becomes more mainstream, where now you're gonna have athletes that are souped up perhaps with things that may be undetectable.
Wow. Okay. So, but yeah, I mean, so yeah, like if you could like walk us through like blockchain, like what is that? Like if you could give us like a high level overview of that realm.
Sure. Blockchain is, think of it this way. I heard it explained that it's the first invention in accounting for 500 years. So it's basically a decentralized financial system, a distributed ledger. Accounting has never received any innovation in 500 years. So this is basically allows it ensures that the copy of the thing you have and the copy of the thing the vendor has is exactly the same. Like it eliminates the need for an intermediary and allows for more direct peer-to-peer transactions. I'm sorry, Brooklyn is in flames. No, I'm joking. But so essentially, peer-to-peer, right? So right now, there is no real peer-to-peer. So if you make a payment on PayPal or any credit card, PayPal gets your money. PayPal pays the vendor. Like you have to trust a third party, and people do that because it helps ensure that the person you're paying is the person you're paying, and the transaction goes through. With blockchain, it's going to allow people to have peer-to-peer transactions, and it's an immutable record, which means it can never change. So I could, instead of going through Uber, I could just get a driver directly and pay the driver and have all the information about the driver on the blockchain. So it really cuts out the need. When you think about it, it potentially cuts out the need for a company like Uber, which is a scary thought. But that's essentially what it is, and it creates records that will be there forever. Like all the transactions are there, everybody can access them, and it makes it nearly impossible for records to be changed because there's so many copies of it out there that for someone to change 10,000 copies of it, it's just not going to happen. So that's essentially what blockchain is. What the innovations that are being built, and Alistair, I'd love to hear your take on it. The innovations that are being built on top of blockchain recently, all your cryptocurrencies are basically like blockchain. They're like essentially blockchain type technologies. But one thing that's really amazing that I'm excited about is the notion of smart contracts. So with smart contracts, you could essentially have autonomous contracting. So it's like a business that doesn't need anybody to operate it. Let me give you an example. If a traffic light has a sensor and it knows it's broken, so when it knows it's broken, because it has a sensor, if it's on blockchain, it could automatically send out a request for someone to come fix it. Automatically, oh, light is broken, boom, let me send. And if a vendor is on blockchain, it could reply and say, okay, yeah, I want that. And this is all happening without anybody. If the vendor is on a blockchain, and then the government or the city awards the contract, this is all happening without human intervention, right? And then the vendor just shows up, fixes the light. The sensor is still there. It knows that it's fixed, and it automatically pays the vendor. So this is the potential usage of blockchain and smart contracts to really completely revolutionize the way that we think about cities and infrastructures and contracting and stuff like that.
Wow. So,
yeah,
Michael,
I'm gonna build on top of that as well. So like when I talk to people about it, one of the things they usually bring up is like, well, I mean, it's digital money. We have digital money right now, like Cash App. But let's say, for example, I'm a part of the Gentleman's Factory. They don't like that, I'm about Black empowerment, whatever. You know what? I try to cash app you some money. I can, what happens is, like Alan said, the bank has to verify that. It has to go through that bank. So if they don't like it, they can just shut it down and say, okay, no, you no longer have access to Cash App because it's centralized by that bank. All of the information, all of the financial information is what the bank has. Whereas on the blockchain, it's here, it's there, it's everywhere. It's not centralized, it's decentralized. So it's not held in one space, it's held in several different spaces. That's why when Alan brought up the point about something being hacked, it's like, are you gonna hack, let's say there are like, 100 million different validators, what they call. It's gonna take you so many time to hack 100 different validators versus that one validator. So when I'm sending, like, let me change the scenario a bit. Now, let's say I want to send you Bitcoin. That Bitcoin goes from me directly to you. The bank has nothing to do with that. It gets validated by one of those validators. And the validator gets a piece of that transaction if everything goes right. So there is no, like, the bank can't come in and shut that down. That's why if you look at a lot of these hacking schemes, they want Bitcoin, because there is no bank to say, oh, well, no, we're not going to send it to there. We're not going to do this. It's 100% decentralized peer-to-peer. And then going to the smart contracts, that's another realm, because it expands on that decentralized nature. So right now you have, like, stock exchanges and things like that. Those are more centralized, but now they have decentralized exchanges. So if I wanted to trade Bitcoin for, let's say, some other cryptocurrency, I can do that. And the smart contract facilitates that. But because that smart contract is hosted in several different places, it can't be shut down. So if the government comes in and says, okay, stop this exchange, you can't do it, they can't shut it down. They can't, because it's all over, So right now, that's, like, the smart contract space is a very exciting space to be in, because it takes the concept of the decentralized money and expands it to a decentralized financial system. Like right now you have decentralized exchanges, you have decentralized lending, decentralized derivatives. Like, for example, I have some cryptocurrency in the decentralized lending platform. So I'm getting 3% versus in a traditional bank account where I'm only getting like 0.01.
Yeah.
And the government can't shut that down. Like, if I were to save my money, let's say I save in a Chase and they decided, okay, we're going to freeze your assets. I no longer have access to that. Versus I can go to this decentralized exchange and take my money out. The government can't tell me anything. It's my money.
So
you can't shut down.
So where are the records housed?
It's housed by, you have these nodes that validate the transaction. So if you're like a validator, you have that you have the records of all of those transactions. But because I can be a validator right now if I wanted to, like, for example, if I want to, I can just go in and download everything that I need. I can download that blockchain onto my system, and now I have a copy of all of those transactions on my computer. I'm now a validator. You can do the same thing, Jeff. Alan can do the same thing. Everybody in this chat can do the same thing.
But
everybody has copies of those records.
Is accurate.
Huh?
How do they know that my information is accurate? Is that just based upon what I say? Like, where are the checks and balances, and can that record be manipulated?
So it's all done based off of cryptography. So
you lost me when you said cryptography. But you said
it's a whole.
It said cryptography. Like, I knew what
it's all like.
Oh, man,
it's
right?
all advanced mathematics. So basically, when you talk about blockchain, it's actually like a chain of blocks. So it's like a chain of, so think of it as a chain. Think of it like Excel spreadsheets with transactions on it. And there's a chain, and it's linked. Each chain is linked to the other one.
Okay.
But the previous chain is linked to the current chain. So if you try to, okay, there's a code on each of those blocks. If you try to change that block, that code would change. Okay. And that would make that block invalid. So everybody on that system can see that that block is not valid, and they won't even accept it. So there is no way to game the system. The only way to hack the system is called a 51% attack. So you would have to have more computing power than most of the people on the system. So like right now, let's say Bitcoin, I don't know how many validators there are. Let's say there are like, let's just say there are 1 million. You would have to have more computing power than 1 million people in order to hack it. Mm. And not many people have that power. It's almost impossible to have that power, to have more computing power than 1 million people to hack it. So that's where the security comes in.
So now Mike just asked another, so by the way, like in full transparency, I'm confused as hell, but yeah, but I know that it takes me a while to get these things, right? So I probably gotta, do a Khan Academy YouTube tutorial over and over and over again, because y'all lost.
Just know that the bank can't do anything to you. That's all you need to know.
So now, Mike actually,
to put it in context a little bit, the future with this technology, it's going to allow for a lot of creativity, because institutions can pop up, on the blockchain. You don't have to lending, all kinds of applications. So, within our community, if we have issues with being disenfranchised through traditional means, this can provide a whole new world for us to service us. But this is why, back on my gospel again, we need to get involved. Because if we had 1,000 Alistairs out there, man, in a room innovating about how to do something completely different for our community, that's transformational. That's life-changing. Within a decade, it'll happen, right? So these technologies are amazing, and this is why this truly is an industrial revolution. A lot of things are going to change. A lot of the things we're used to today are going to be different: banking, insurance, lending, all kinds of things. So, and now it's not too late, man. It's not too late at all. This is just the beginning.
Even the money itself is going to be changed. There was a proposal a couple of months ago, back when COVID first started, to move the dollar to have a blockchain version of the dollar, the US dollar. So that kind of tells you how serious it's getting right now. Fidelity just released a report. Fidelity, a big financial institution, is starting their own Bitcoin investment group. JP Morgan just invested in Consensus, which is an Ethereum think tank in a sense, and they also offer training. So it's coming, and
central bank.
The central bank digital currencies.
Right.
Wow.
China's already doing it. Malaysia's already doing it. We're here.
Wow. Thank you all for just making my head hurt, right? I really appreciate it, right? So we have about 5 more minutes to this conversation. And if anyone has any other last questions, as I ask these two gentlemen, I guess, how do you summarize, the future, and what are the risks but also opportunities for the Black community?
The risks are, you're seeing the risks right now, doing the same thing we've always been doing, being behind the ball. We'll continue to not even be in the same place. We'll be worse off, because what's happening is that wealth gap is growing, and we're on the losing side of that wealth gap. So we're just going to lose even more. The people who have it are just going to gain even more. But in terms of what we should be doing, just, you know, jumping forward. So one of the things I started actually doing the cryptocurrency discussion talks, but I sort of pivoted a little bit. Now I'm thinking about just, and you know, starting a scholarship fund for some young Black kids to just go to some of these different certification programs so they can learn blockchain. Just putting my money up, like, look, go learn this stuff now and bring it back and teach other people. And not only teach other people, but build projects for us. We're at a point right now where we could build our own bank. That's possible. Without getting the government involved, we can build our own banks, our own lending institutions right now. We just need to, you know, build our skills and do it. And we need to teach other people the same thing. That's the way forward.
So Jeff, man, so Alistair, I love hearing that talk. I agree 100%. The risk is us not getting involved. The opportunity is limitless. You know, Jeff, I hope I can share that, you know, and I'm so involved in this. I want to put out a webinar series about this topic because there's so much to unpack. Yep. This cannot be done in one sitting, in 1 hour. So I'm really, like, this fall working with Jeff to put out a webinar series, and it'll be for us, but also for just Black people, Black professionals, man, because, like, if we don't start to understand what's going on, we're gonna become obsolete. And it's not just in low-income communities. I'm talking about, like, people mid-career on the top of their game. If you don't really see this coming and adjust and pivot, it's gonna be bad, man, for us. And we need people involved to do what Alistair just said. You know, go learn this stuff, come back, and be part of a community where, you know, we can build things together. So, you know, be on the lookout. We're gonna do this webinar series. There's gonna be some big topics. And me personally, I'm about creating power and wealth, period.
Yep.
Like, that's, for me, the solution for our people. How do we create power and wealth? And, you know, through this technology, you don't have to be a software developer. You could be a psychologist, you could be a sociologist, you could be a doctor, you could be a nurse. But when you start to embrace the potentials for this technology, you become a lot more relevant. You become an innovator in your field. And that's what I'm about. I'm trying to be a catalyst to that. Hopefully, you know, this webinar series could be really successful. I'm sure we'll be sharing more information about it.
Wow, this was amazing. So we just have a few more questions. If we could just have like a 15-second answer, 15 to 30-second answer, please, right? So Anthony asks, what stocks should I invest in for AI and biotech? And Mike also asks, like, what like tech have you gentlemen invested in?
I'll answer that. Research, there's cryptocurrency exchanges like Alistair mentioned. It's really early. Some of them are speculative, but if they become the pervasive, you know, engine for this, that's going to take off. Amazon is a huge, well, their stock has gone up. It's probably doubled over the pandemic. It's pretty crazy what's going on. If you guys have been following tech stocks in the last 4 months, I've invested in some companies that have returned like 1,000%. Like, it's ridiculous what's going on right now. I would look at the AI platforms are going berserk. The cryptocurrencies are going berserk. You know, take a risk. You know, you take a risk, but without risk, there's no reward. Also, you got to think about the technology companies that are supplying things that enable like 5G technologies and wireless technologies. So, but again, like, we could probably have another session about that period, but there are a lot of opportunities out there in the stock market.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. Like, the same companies that are dominating right now, Amazon, Google, Apple, are going to be the first ones to jump into like 5G and a lot of these other technologies. When it comes to cryptocurrencies, if you're just starting out, I would say dollar cost average into Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those are my two. So I mean, if it's only $50, $100 a month, but do it every single month. That's how your wealth grows. And the same thing with the stocks. Whatever little bit you can do every single month. When it comes to biotech, that's very new. I know Regeneron is one. CRISPR, like I mentioned before, but there's also ARKG is an ETF that holds. They're focused on biotech.
And with the cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin is like $11,000 for one Bitcoin. Ether is like $400 because Ether is newer. So there's probably just do your research and be smart about it. But you could see the history. Look at the last 5 years, last 2 years, or whatever, and you could see how they've gone up and down, up and down. Bitcoin crashed, now it's back up. Ether crashed, now it's going back up. So you got to just do your research.
It's still very speculative, but if you look at Bitcoin price it's been around for 10 years now. A lot of people forget that it's been around 10 years. It was under a penny when it first came out, and it's like 11,000, approaching 12,000. And we're in the beginning of a bull market for crypto. So it's gonna go higher.
Oh man, amazing. Oh man, gentlemen, thank you both so much for giving me a headache today. You know what I'm saying? But conversations like this are very important because it, just gives us the glimpse of the future, and so that we can always know what's ahead, right? And I'm so honored that you gentlemen are continuing to share your knowledge and expertise, so that we can continue to grow as a community, man. So, fellas, thank you so much again, and we definitely have to do this again soon. So that you can break this down even more. And like I know that Alan, is going to be doing the webinar series on like deep tech, because I failed math class in high school and college, so this is out of my realm. But I'm happy that I'm surrounded myself with great people who are way smarter than me, right? So, fellas, thank you both so much, man, and let's continue building, man. All right.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to I put something in the chat today about, starting a scholarship fund. If anybody has any information, because I really want to get some of these young kids into this technology. So if you have any info, anything that I can use to help out, because it's important, super important. I just want to leave you guys with that. If you have any information I can use, reach out.
Absolutely, definitely will do. Yeah, like I'm gonna connect you with Gene Alert. You know what I mean? Yeah, like I'm gonna put a Slack intro between you two, because he has a scholarship fund and he's like giving a lot of money to young people to go.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a definitely good connection, man. Oh man, but fellas, let's continue to build. All right.
All right, bro.
All right, fellas.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks. Good night.
All right, guys.